In a quiet market town, where shutters rose with the sun and coins sounded like little bells in the morning air, a young shop assistant finished counting the till, and felt a tug inside. His savings grew, but too slowly to change his life. He worked diligently, 5 years and counting, promoted by steadiness more than luck. On his single day off, he walked beyond the edge of town, to find an elder known, not for busyness, but for ease, a landowner whose fields seemed to earn while he sat beneath a wide shade tree sipping coffee. The young man bowed and, with the humility of a student, asked how one makes money work for a person rather than the other way around. The elder smiled, the kind that holds both patience and direction. First, you need money, he said, and when you start from small, avoid borrowing for investments. Let savings be your seed. X20. They spoke without hurry, like two people watching clouds. Second, the elder continued, resist buying shiny things too soon. Phones, cars, even houses if they do not serve your present path. These lose value and steal your attention. Put the early energy toward building income that arrives while you rest. The words were plain, but they landed like a hand placed gently on the shoulder, steadying, clarifying. X20. As noon heat gathered, a bell drifted from a small hillside temple. The young man and the elder followed the sound for shade and water, and there a monk greeted them with tea. The monk's robe, faded from years of sun, carried the simple scent of boiled rice. He listened, then added, before money can be a servant, mind must be a clear house. Breathe with the truth of impermanence. Wages, prices, fortunes all rise and fall. When the breath is steady, choices are kinder. When choices are kinder, money follows like a well-trained ox. The elder nodded, amused by how the teaching matched his own practice. The young man, who often clenched his jaw while balancing ledgers, felt his face soften. He noticed how much of his wanting came from fatigue and comparison, not need. They returned to the tree and widened the talk. The elder encouraged him to search for simple streams of income in ordinary places, services neighbors need, small livestock, tools that could be rented, even a modest Wi-Fi line shared across homes. Look around, not far, he said. Curiosity is capital. X20. The monk offered a story for the road. An old woman once asked me if she should buy an expensive kettle. I told her, first, boil the ordinary water of your day. If tea comes easily, the kettle will find you. But if the first sip is debt, the tea will taste like worry. The young man laughed, surprised by how wisdom could be homely and sharp at once. As they parted, the elder placed 3 small pebbles in the young man's palm. Keep these in your pocket, he said. 1 for saving without loans. 1 for delaying luxury. 1 for looking closely at what's already within reach. Each evening, touch them and remember. The monk added a final breath practice. Count 3 slow exhalations before any purchase. Then ask, who is deciding my calm or my craving? That night, back in his quiet room above the shop, the young man opened his notebook. On the first page he wrote, seed first, shine later, look near. Then, beneath it, he copied his next steps, save from wages, track impulses, list nearby opportunities. The work felt lighter now, as if someone had opened a window. He set the pebbles on his windowsill, 3 moons catching the last of the day. X20. The following week, the young man returned to the elder's tree with a small pouch of coins and a list scribbled on paper. He had begun saving more carefully, delaying the purchase of a new motorbike. His friends all seemed eager to show off. The elder studied the list and laughed kindly. You see how quickly your mind changes when it is not chasing shiny things? Now your savings already look like a little army waiting to march. They walked together toward the edge of the fields, where simple businesses sprouted like young shoots after rain. The elder pointed at a neighbor who shared Wi-Fi with nearby homes, earning a steady trickle each month. He gestured toward another family raising chickens in a yard no bigger than a kitchen. Passive income does not always begin with grand palaces, he said. Sometimes it begins with eggs in a basket or a wire carrying signals. The young man marveled at these modest beginnings. He had thought wealth required large sums or rare luck. Yet here, in his own village, small streams flowed into steady rivers. As they passed, the monk from before joined them, walking barefoot and humming a verse. Hearing the talk of coins and chickens, the monk added, "The mind loves to imagine riches like mountains, but it often forgets that mountains are built of stones. Lay each stone carefully, without greed, and the mountain will rise in time." They sat by a pond, watching ripples spread. The elder unfolded the next lessons, 7 steps in total. First, save and avoid loans. Second, delay the temptation of luxuries. Third, look around for small opportunities. Fourth, once you find one, begin. Don't wait for a perfect plan. You learn by stepping into the water, he said, tossing a pebble that made rings expand across the pond. The pond will never reveal its depth to someone only standing at the edge. The monk nodded, adding softly, "Action without clarity breeds mistakes, but waiting forever breeds nothing. Walk gently, but walk." His voice lingered like incense in the air. The young man felt a stirring, a sense that learning was less about rushing forward than about aligning each step with patience. As shadows lengthened, the elder shared the 5th and 6th steps. Reinvest your small profits. Grow gradually, then diversify. Do not place all trust in one stream. If one dries, others will carry you. The monk chuckled, recalling an old parable. A man once planted only bananas. When storm winds came, all his trees fell. But his neighbor, who planted bananas, beans, and bamboo, always had food. Diversity is also resilience of the heart. The young man's notes grew crowded with words. Save, resist, seek, act, reinvest, diversify. Yet the monk reminded him to leave space in the margins for silence too. Without pauses, music is only noise, he said. The elder agreed, patting the young man's shoulder. The 7th step, the hardest one, be patient. Time is the true partner in all wealth. If you hurry it, you break the partnership. If you honor it, it multiplies. The day closed, with birds returning to their nests. The young man walked home under a violet sky, carrying not just coins, but a map of 7 steps, each one simple yet profound. He realized the teaching was not only about money, but about life itself. To save wisely, to resist haste, to see opportunity, to act with courage, to reinvest in growth, to spread risk, and to wait with faith. That night he placed the pouch of coins beside the 3 pebbles on his windowsill. Together they looked like a tiny shrine to patience and persistence. He whispered before sleep, "Let each coin, each pebble, each breath become a seed." Weeks rolled into months. The young man began testing the elder's words in quiet, careful ways. He bought 2 hens, built a small coop with his own hands, and each morning collected eggs with a sense of wonder. What once seemed ordinary, now felt like proof that seeds of patience do sprout. On another day, he asked a friend about sharing a low-cost internet line across a cluster of houses, and to his surprise, neighbors were grateful to contribute a small fee. Tiny rivers of income began trickling, and though the amounts were modest, his heart felt rich with possibility. Yet challenges arrived too. A fox prowled near the chicken yard, and one night he lost a hen. He felt the sting of loss, and for a moment his old doubts returned. Maybe he was foolish to try. The next morning, he carried his sorrow to the elder. The elder listened and said, "This is why we start small. A single hen lost is a lesson, not a ruin. Guard better, learn better, and the next season will repay you." The monk, overhearing from the shade, added, "Life will nibble at your plans as foxes do at coops. The task is not to curse the fox, but to strengthen the fence of your mind." Slowly, resilience joined patience as his companion. He built sturdier fences, asked more questions, and kept notes of both successes and failures. He noticed how his mind grew quieter when he remembered to breathe before making decisions. The monk often reminded him, 3 breaths before a purchase, 3 breaths before despair. Between those breaths lies wisdom. In the village, people began to notice his quiet experiments. Some teased him for not buying a motorbike or a sleek phone, but others grew curious about his steady calm. A widow asked him for advice on selling herbs from her garden. A friend wanted to know how he managed without loans. He shared openly, repeating the elder's steps and the monk's stories, never pretending they were his own inventions. In giving, he found he learned twice, once for himself, once for others. One evening, the elder invited him for supper. After the meal, the elder's grandchildren played by the fire while the elder spoke gently. Now you see, wealth is not a finish line but a practice, like tending a garden. You save, you resist, you seek, you act, you grow, you diversify, you wait, over and over. And even when the harvest is good, you plant again. The monk raised his cup of tea, smiling, and in planting again, you plant not only coins but compassion. When others eat from your garden, your wealth has already multiplied. The young man walked home under starlight, carrying no gold, yet feeling as though his pockets overflowed. His coins were still few, but his spirit was no longer waiting for sudden fortune. He was already living the story of quiet growth. On his windowsill, the pouch of coins and 3 pebbles now sat beside a small feather he had kept from the lost hen, a reminder that even loss is part of the journey. Seasons changed, and with them, the young man's rhythm deepened. The hens multiplied, the small Wi-Fi service stretched across more homes, and each modest stream of income slowly joined into a river he could trust. What surprised him most was not the money itself, but the peace he felt each morning. Where once he awoke with heaviness, counting coins and wishing for more, now he rose with gratitude, eager to tend his simple ventures. One day, while resting under the familiar tree, he asked the elder, "When will I know I am truly wealthy?" The elder chuckled softly, eyes resting on the horizon. "Wealth is not the size of your chest of coins. It is the steadiness of your heart when coins are few, and when they are many. If you can live without fear of tomorrow, you are already wealthy." The monk, sipping his tea nearby, added, "And if you can share without pride, then your wealth is double." The young man pondered these words. As he looked around his village, he began setting aside a small portion of his profits, not for luxuries, but to help others. He bought school books for a child, repaired the roof of an elderly neighbor, and sometimes offered eggs to families who had little. Each act seemed small, yet he noticed how joy grew in him, like a second harvest beyond money. With time, even those who had once teased him for avoiding luxuries, now came to him with questions. He never called himself a teacher, but quietly showed them the same pebbles he carried, the same 7 steps written in his notebook. The village, slowly, began to glow with small enterprises, with neighbors less anxious about tomorrow. The elder often smiled from his tree, seeing how wisdom had traveled further than his own words could reach. One evening, the monk told a parable by the temple bell. A man asked the Buddha how long it would take to be free of suffering. The Buddha asked, "How long does it take for a tree to bear fruit?" The man answered, "Years, if I care for it daily." The Buddha replied, "Then care for your mind daily, and you will taste freedom in time." Wealth and peace are the same, they grow with steady care. The young man realized then that his journey was never only about coins, hens, or wires. It was about shaping a mind that no longer trembled with envy or fear. His savings and ventures were simply tools, mirrors for his own patience. That night, he lit a small lamp by the window. Beside the 3 pebbles, the pouch of coins, and the feather, he placed a sprig of dried basil from a neighbor's garden he had helped restore. Looking at this little altar of his life, he whispered, "The true wealth is already here." And with that, he lay down, not rich in gold perhaps, but rich in stillness, community, and time.